everybody. Thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Tonight, we're so excited to be joined by legendary actor, musician, and more. His new movie, To Die For, is out now. Bo Duke himself, John Schneider. John, thanks for joining us. Welcome to The Right View. Obviously, yeah, you're famous for playing Bo Duke, so we had to go there from the Dukes of Hazzard. You landed that role at 18 years old. I have to imagine life before Bo Duke and after Bo Duke, very different.
Well, it's very different. It was. But, people want to think that I fell off a turnip truck and got that part. But I've been doing theater and magic and playing the guitar since I was 8 years old.
Wow.
So I was fully prepared and expecting a great opportunity, but the real key to that is recognizing it when it comes,
right,
and then using it properly. So when I heard that they were auditioning for this show called the Dukes of Hazzard, they were looking for people 24 to 30 years old from rural Georgia. I was 18 years old from Westchester County, New York.
Are you from Westchester? I didn't know that.
I'm from Mount Kisco.
Get out of town. I used to live in Mount Kisco. A side note. Yeah, that's so funny. Well, but you went for it anyway.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because I recognized that this was, Smokey and the Bandit had just broken all the box office records in 1977. I was in high school in Georgia and recognized that CBs and trucks and fast cars and fun and bubblegum and all that kind of stuff, Pretty Girl, Sally Fields, was a huge, it had changed the face of cinema at that point. There was no bigger star in the world than Burt Reynolds. And then the television show was about to be done that for all intents and purposes was Smokey and the Bandit on the small screen. So I knew that was the opportunity, and I knew I was ready for it. The only thing was I wasn't right for it. But, these are just trivial problems. You just get over that.
Well, by the way, it's actually a good lesson, I feel, because there are so many people, I think, out there who have a dream or have something that they're working towards. And if things don't align exactly as they would assume in their mind things should, they say, well, I shouldn't even try it. The odds are against me. You didn't take that approach, and look what happened to you. I mean, obviously, the role of a lifetime that you landed.
Well, I've always been a leap before I look kind of a guy anyway. Just kind of me. I figure, jump out of the tree and grow your wings on the way down. And that's always been me. But I get that, I think, from the age of 8 years old, being on the stage, being in theater. There is nothing that ever works the way it's supposed to.
Right.
Theater. So if you aren't able to make better that which is wrong, then you shouldn't be in theater. Actually, you shouldn't be in much of anything, because what really goes right ever?
Yeah, I mean,
no, what do they say in the military? No battle plan survives the first shot.
Exactly. And I believe, what was it Mike Tyson used to say? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Then it's like, whoa, wait a minute. And you will get punched in the face. Here's the thing nobody talks about. If you don't get punched in the face, then you're not in the fight.
That's so true. Gosh, and you're talking to the right family for that. I'll tell you that much. Wow.
No kidding. My God.
It's so true. Well, let me ask you this. You go in and you audition and you land this role. How quickly thereafter did you realize how big of a deal this ultimately would be? I mean, you were still a teenager.
Yeah, but I was an old soul. It took a while, because when you do a show, especially then, we were a single camera film, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 months a year. So to end in California, we started in Georgia. By the time we left Georgia, the show wasn't on yet. Mm-hmm. So I was never on that television show while it was being filmed in Georgia, like In the Heat of the Night or like other shows that have been done since then. So when you're in California, everybody is just too cool for school anyway. So I would say it took at least the first year for me to realize that we were even on a television show.
Wow.
let alone top 5, often number one.
Yeah.
So,
very cool. I mean,
yeah, it was great. And there were only 3 networks, and young people today have no concept.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I mean, ABC, CBS, NBC, for our 7 years, we averaged 28 million people a week.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, you have to appreciate it for the time it was, because I feel like now everything's so diluted because we have so many options and we're very lucky, and you can learn whatever you want to learn. You can look up things in an instant with the click of a button. Obviously,
right.
We're all connected on our phones, for better or worse, whatever you make of it. But you're right, at that time, when you turn on the TV, it wasn't like you had 500 channels like we all have now. You really were very limited, and to be on one of those channels in a primetime spot like you were, that's pretty cool. That's pretty amazing.
Well, it was an amazing time, and it was a great time to be a celebrity. Because once it caught on, I mean, it was unbelievable, especially in the South. It was crazy. They moved a football game. I can't remember where it was. I think it was Georgia. They moved their Friday night football games to Saturday because attendance was down, because Dukes was on.
Stop.
Night at 8:00.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was wild. But then when with the advent of cable, as cable started to grow, I did a show called Smallville. So when Smallville was on, there were probably 500 channels, and we moved from film to digital when we were doing that show. So I've been around for a lot of big changes, a lot of things that have happened that have changed the face of television and cinema. So it's been great, and I appreciate it. I love television.
You've been on a ride, and Smallville, that was not to use a word, that wasn't a small show. That was a big deal. You played Superman's dad in that show, Jonathan Kent. I mean, that show was on for like 16 years. You're in over 100 episodes, I think. So that was a huge success as well. And this was kind of before the superhero craze really took off. I feel like, do you feel like you've just gotten very lucky, or have these been strategic decisions?
I feel they have gotten very lucky.
Yeah.
I do. Because also, and by the way, Smallville, it ran for 10 seasons. Supernatural ran for 16, I think.
Oh, okay.
But it ran for 10 seasons, and I do believe that the success of Smallville was one of the major reasons why studios ventured into the long form movies of superheroes anyway. So I think Smallville was in a large way responsible for the success of that whole genre. But then I did a show called The Haves and Have-Nots with Tyler Perry. Also a number one. That for 8 years, another number one show. So, I'll prove to you I'm from Westchester County, New York.
Oh.
What one thing did those 3 incredibly successful shows have in common? Me. And not because I'm any good, but because I love what I do, and I think people see that.
Yeah, I mean, very clearly. The Mount Kisco Diner is nothing to sneeze at, by the way. If you find yourself
the upholstery.
they redid it. If you find yourself in Westchester County, New York, and you want to have a very impressive meal at any hour of the day, you should check out their Instagram feed. They post the coolest videos and stuff on Instagram. But the Mount Kisco Diner is where to go. My kids love it. I love it. I'm a breakfast all day kind of person. So a diner for me is just a win across the board.
Corned beef hash. Corned beef.
That's your go-to, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you know what?
My parents met at the Goodie Shop. So I don't know if the Goodie Shop is even still there.
Really?
But so I love it. I love Kisco.
It's so great. Do you still go back to Mount Kisco? Have you been in a while?
I have not been in quite some time because my dad has passed away. My brothers have moved on. My brother Bob is a mayor yes, thank you, baby. Stamford, New York.
Oh, okay.
Connecticut, yeah, Stamford, New York, and he's great. So he's the only real politician in the family, and he didn't ever want to be the mayor. He just couldn't stand the person that was running to run his village. So he went up against her and kicked her butt in about 4 days. So
wow. That's amazing. Yeah, well,
That
smart
sounds
people.
familiar? People who don't want the responsibility, who can't help but take it.
I'm very familiar with
Yeah.
someone very similar to that. As you mentioned it, very ironically. That's a pretty big deal, though, to be the mayor of anywhere, as a big
Anyway,
town, small town, whatever it might be. How long has he been the mayor?
he's still in his first term. He
Okay.
became mayor about a month before the pandemic started.
Oh my
So
gosh, what timing.
he picked the wrong time to become. But he got his. It's called a village up there. It's the village of Stamford.
Okay.
The village of Mount Kisco. The I think Bedford Hills, I think, is a hamlet. But
Oh,
anyway, so
these
he's
are
these are New York words, folks.
yeah,
Sorry.
I know. I didn't know about it because I grew up in North Carolina and then I moved to New York. I
Oh,
started
look at
I started dating my husband and he was like, we've got to go up to Mount Kisco. And I was like, where? He was like, yeah, it's right beside Chappaqua. And I was like, where? Like these words and names were very unique. Now it's second nature to me,
Poughkeepsie,
but
right near Poughkeepsie.
right near Poughkeepsie, not far from Coscob. Like what are these
Oh,
names? It's kind
oh,
of crazy. I sort of love it.
yeah.
I want to get back to you as a not a musician. You are also are a musician, but a magician, because this is pretty fascinating. I read that you used to perform magic,
Yep.
obviously for your classmates and friends, but that included being chained up and tossed into your family's swimming pool to recreate the Harry Houdini escape act. Is that
Yeah,
true?
it is. It wasn't my family. It was the pool at the apartment complex. But yeah,
Oh, I'm sure they were thrilled.
I did that when my mother got home from work. That was when we moved to Atlanta. Yeah, it was. But it's a trick. It's a trick. So I figured it out. I made it look like I was going to drown. My mother, of course, she was from Florida. She was from Sanford. So I've got a mayor brother in Stanford. My mother is from Sanford. You're from North Carolina. I'm from New York, and people certainly wouldn't think that was the case. They think that was
Right.
backwards.
Right.
But yeah,
Exactly.
I did. Before we left New York, I almost set the Kisco Garden Apartments on fire with a trick. But you have to make your doves appear somehow.
Now, do you still do magic?
I just for kids and things, just for fun, just to enjoy it. I can still do some things with cards,
Oh,
but
I love it.
not much anymore. I enjoy it, but that's kind of beyond me. I don't have the dexterity I used to have.
Well, it's very impressive. Anytime I go to an event and they have a magician as part of the folks walking around to entertain people,
Mhm.
that's a big hit for people to be
Oh
able
yeah.
to perform magic and master all of the tricks or stunts or whatever you want to call them.
Oh,
But
close up magic is a whole lot of fun. It's always a hit at
yeah,
hit at a
yeah,
and
but you
kids
know
love
what?
it. They're 6 or 60. They love it. They love to be fooled.
It's true, but you're saying you had figured out this thing in the swimming pool. You're
Yeah.
still in water. I mean, things could have gone wrong. What was the response to that? How did your mom feel about that? Because I would have
Tell me,
been terrified.
she just said if you'd have drowned, I'd have killed you. That's what.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I'm a leap before I look guy.
Yeah.
But I studied it. I mean, you figure out how to do that without the water. The water is the last element you add, right? Kind of
Right.
like the voting machine.
Oh,
I mean, we've been seeing all kinds of magic, haven't we?
there's been a lot. Magic is a really nice way to put it, actually. It is magical and I would say miraculous. Some of the
Yeah.
things we've seen. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I loved about Arizona was Arizona said, do you realize, come on, people, we've got 487,000 votes that we need to count. Okay. And I'm thinking in my Westchester County mind, if you can tell me you have 487,000 votes to count, doesn't that mean that you counted them?
Right. How do you not know what
What
kind
does that
of what are we doing?
Well,
The fact
I think it has to get. I thought it was really bad, but we have no idea what bad is. We're about to find out. It's got to get so bad that even what I think they've figured out is they basically said to young people of all kind, if you vote Republican, they are going to hold you accountable. You are going to have to be a responsible adult, stop getting things for free, pay your student loan, and be a part of society. And
Right.
people, sadly, the folks that go to, they keep changing their major in college, and when they get out of college, they've spent all their parents' money, and they don't know they still don't know what they're going to be.
Right.
The Democrats successfully got the lowest common denominator to vote for them. But I think the surprise of their life is going to be in 2 years when the 3.8 million, by then it'll be 5 million people they've let in, except God bless Governor Abbott. These people that they've let in, these people didn't come here to get something for free. These people came here to pursue happiness and their dream. And they appreciate an honest day's pay for an honest day's work.
That's right.
So they are not, I think they think they're going to vote Democrat. I don't believe that for a second.
Well, I sure hope you're right, because I got to tell you, it is not only is it dangerous to just have an open border, because you don't know who's coming in and everyone's intentions who are coming in, and you get one bad apple, one person, from a terrorist watch list that slips through the cracks, and who knows what could happen. It's honestly terrifying. Obviously, we know the fentanyl problem. But you can't.
How terrible is that?
Oh my gosh, it's an epidemic. It is killing the youth of America at a record rate, and obviously there's no one who's interested in talking about it has the ability to rectify things. So they don't even
going down there. I went to the border last January. I've been in Yuma, Arizona. I've spent more time on our southern border than Kamala Harris, the border czar, has.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Biden says, "Oh yeah, I've been to Del Rio, but I'm kind of busy." What doing what?
I know. He's on vacation most of the time, sadly. I think you're right. I think there has been an obvious push to get people, and you look at the results of the midterm elections. 18 to 29-year-olds made the difference for the Democrat Party. Yep. They are a lot of things in that party. One of the things they are not is totally stupid, because they went out and they stood places like college campuses and they said, you don't even have to go vote on election day. And they started day one that they could to harvest ballots where it was legal. Sadly, it shouldn't be this way, but it is. And they got everyone to vote for them. And if we are not doing something similar on the Republican side, if we're going to say we're going to sit back and wait for election day because that's when our people come vote, then we are stupid and we're crazy. We have to figure out a different strategy, because it's obviously going to hurt not our party, but our country moving forward, because we can't afford this. It's crazy.
Well, I don't believe that Republicans cannot and will not cheat. Democrats will.
Well, that's a problem too.
Absolutely cheat. Their opinion is if you do something and get away with it, then you didn't do anything wrong.
There you go.
By their own admission, by the way. People need to remember that they said, well, yes, there was fraud in 2020, but it wasn't enough to make a difference. Well, my question to you is, how much fraud is too much?
Right. What's acceptable? Where's the acceptable limit?
Levels of fraud. What is an acceptable level of cheating? So we were outplayed. We were also very, very confident, and we made it known. Right. Like the team that's ahead until the last 30 seconds and then blows. That's what we did. Shame on us.
That's right. That's right.
On us. We cannot do that again. Okay.
I totally agree.
But the promise that you don't have to be a responsible adult is something we also can't do. So what we have to do is we have to very clearly outline the glory and the prize of being a responsible adult, having autonomy, working toward your goal and your dream, and not being deceived by the opposition. So we've got some work to do, but we can do it. And what's going to help us, I believe, is that things are going to get so bad, like I said. I mean, they're going to, do we have the House yet? Did we get the House?
I mean, I don't know if it's official yet, but fingers crossed.
Well, fingers crossed. At least we can be a deterrent to their stupidity.
Right.
I mean, absolutely. I thought we were going to have the House and the Senate. I thought it was all going to be sewn up. So I, too, am guilty of being overconfident.
Yeah. Well,
we've got our work cut out for us. We made a movie, by the way, called To Die For, about our flag.
I want to ask you about that.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think it's amazing. You wrote this movie, you directed it, and you starred in it, To Die For, as you just said. And you play a veteran from a small town,
Yeah.
basically out there defending the American flag. I think it's such an appropriate thing to bring up right now.
Well, thank you. It's the intent. We saw an article last year about a gentleman who went to jail rather than take the flag, the American flag, off the back of his truck when he drove in 100 yards of a high school that he went to. Right. So I thought that guy. You know, I keep harping on New York and Mount Kisco, but people, that's what we are, right? We are like, we're going to go do it. We're going to do it. So I wrote this film. Really, I feel like I am our flag's co-star. The flag is the star of the movie. Actually, I'm fourth down. The flag is the star of the movie. Our veterans are the other stars of the movie. Because I don't think that people understand that when, in my mind anyway, when you disrespect the flag, you are disrespecting people who gave their lives,
yes,
who gave their limbs, and whose family gave up their loved ones for our freedom. So it's not just a political debate and a highbrow question about does the flag represent freedom that gives you the freedom to disrespect the flag? Probably it does. But you shouldn't. But you certainly shouldn't disrespect our military at all. I include, this makes some people uncomfortable, I include our law enforcement as our military.
Amen.
Because they have boots on the ground where domestic terrorists, not parents, but the people currently holding office, domestic terrorists are attacking this country from every level, every minute of every day. We have to do something about it. This movie makes it so people can have this kind of conversation and openly have a nice debate.
Well, and I think it's such an important thing to talk about and bring up right now, because I have two young kids. They're 3 and 5, and it is very important to me and to my husband, Eric, that our kids realize how blessed they are and how lucky they are to live in the United States of America, why this is such a big deal, why we are a nation where you have 169 other countries desperately trying to make their way here to America. What is it about this country, and what is it about the people who protect our country that make us so special? And we are so lucky to have men and women who are willing to put on a uniform, whether it's from the United States military, whether it is your local law enforcement officer, putting it on, going out there, fighting the good fight so that we maintain our freedoms and our way of life here in America. It is absolutely incredible. And it's so important to us that one of the things that we do as a family at our little bedtime routine, in addition to prayers with our kids, is our kids recite the Pledge of Allegiance every single night. And our 3-year-old daughter, Carolina, can do the whole thing front to back, no problem.
That's great.
It's great, but it's so sad to me, John, that there are people out there that would ever vilify our American flag, that would make people question at all why we're the greatest country in the world, and question if that is even the case. Where else are they going to go? There's nowhere else.
They should just leave. But that's very simple. But what they've done, sadly, successfully, to quite a bit successfully, is they have it's the art of war. They've divided and conquered.
Right.
I did a thing on my YouTube channel a couple of years ago about the whole racism issue. Who benefits from our division? It's not me. If it's not me and it's not you, and it's somebody neither one of us know, then we're being played.
Right.
So we have to be smart and realize we're being played. When Al Sharpton gets up and talks about all these things that are wrong between black people and white people, he's making them up.
Right.
They don't exist. I don't see it at the airport. I don't see it walking down the street. I don't see it anywhere. I see black people and red people and white people arm in arm laughing at their coffee break, enjoying one another's company.
That's
so
right.
Largely what they say doesn't exist. The end of the movie has an 11-year-old Officer Levi. He is a junior deputy in Livingston Parish, Louisiana, and he recites the Pledge of Allegiance. So it's wonderful. And Alicia and I, in the next 10 days, are going to have our first grandchild.
Oh my gosh, that's
We
amazing.
have this world that we have a country worthy of our granddaughter living in it.
Oh, I love it. I mean, there's nothing that I think inspires me more to want to make this country, you know, a better place for all of us than looking at my children. And I'm sure as a first-time grandfather, that's amazing that nothing would inspire you more. Where can people watch To Die For, by the way?
You can watch it right now on our streaming platform. We are not people who complain about Hollywood publicly and then secretly try to get into bed with them. So we have our own streaming. We don't like Netflix. We have our own streaming platform. You go to todieformovie.com to stream it or to download it. Or if you're a DVD person, which I still am, I can't believe that's old school. But
I don't even have a DVD player, but
well, you don't need this press, but somebody else might. todiefor.dvd.com. todiefor.dvd.com. Our website is johnschneiderstudios.com. So we've got all kinds of great stuff, lots of fun car movies and things. But this movie is very, very special. I had an Army veteran the other night. I was doing a show in Branson, Missouri. And at the end of the show, he took his hat off that had a couple of badges on it, put it on the stage and pushed it toward me. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "That's for you." And I said, "I didn't serve." He said, No. Everything you just said in that movie you made is service enough. You deserve this hat. I want you.
That's amazing.
So it's pretty special. Pretty special.
Well, I think you're doing, I mean, it's so needed, and it's such a great thing, I think, to see that people still care and people are still out there willing to show, again, why we're so lucky to live in America and why this is such a special place.
We have to. I mean, Hollywood and the left really has no creative opposition. You know, but most of the folks in show business owe their soul to the company store. You know, and they're afraid to make any ripples anywhere for fear they're going to lose their cinchy jobs. What they don't understand is that the company store itself, Hollywood, is owned by 4 or 5 globalists sitting around a table somewhere, and all Hollywood is a line item on their spreadsheet. Right. So, you know, they pretend the economy, but they don't. We do. With what you're doing, with what we're doing, we have autonomy. We can truly express how we feel. We use freedom of speech, the tools we've been given, an imagination, a laptop and a camera. We express truly the American spirit and the American dream. And we will not stop, come hell or high water. Can't do it.
I absolutely love it. I think you're exactly right. Are you friendly at all with people still in Hollywood in that scene?
With some of the actor types, yeah, but not. I mean, it would be folly for me to say that they cared what I do. You know, I'm not that naive. I know they don't care. Busy trying not to lose their jobs.
Well, right? But I was going to ask you this.
I can say they're too busy kissing ass to worry about what John Schneider.
Well, of course, right? But what I also hear from people, anyone I know that has any connection in that world, is they say there are so many people that exist within that Hollywood sphere, whether it's, you know, people who work behind the scenes or the actors themselves, who feel very strongly that they don't like the direction that this country is headed in. They don't like the leadership, but they're afraid to, of course, speak out. I was just going to get your take on that, because I feel like that is such a sad state of affairs that in the United States of America, there are people who are fearful to use their First Amendment freedom and speak out and have their voice heard.
There are a lot of what I guess now you would call closet conservatives.
Yes.
And I don't know why. I mean, in 2017, I would hear people say, "Oh yeah, we're liberal, we're this and that," and then they'd say, "By the way, I voted for Trump."
Exactly.
You know, you hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. However, Hollywood does have a hold on people because they're afraid to lose their jobs. People lose their jobs all the time because of their conservative perspective. And if they voice their so what you have to do is you either have to shut up, which I disagree with, and it's impossible for me to do so, or you pick up your little red pail and your shovel, and you walk out of that sandbox and you build your own sandbox and you make your own content. So that's what we have done, and we distribute our own content. So what that means to us is when someone helps support what we're doing by buying a movie or a record or a hat or anything that we do, we truly appreciate it. We're kind of like a farmer's market.
Yeah.
Right? When you buy corn from a farmer's market, or eggs or squash or whatever you buy from the farmer's market, you know that somebody brought that there probably with their kids in the back of a truck, and they appreciate you purchasing them. Right. We are like that in the entertainment business. I do realize that Alicia and I are inherently we take risk. We're not risk averse at all, but it's paying off. You just have to keep going. You have to be the little engine that could, and stop being, and I think we still are, the silent majority. And I don't know why so many people would buy into the nonsense that their voice doesn't count as much as this other person's voice.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Equality, they're preaching equality while creating intentional division.
Yes.
We're smarter than that. We are much smarter than that. We've got to call an end to it. We just can't allow it anymore. I thought we were going to disallow it Tuesday. We did disallow it for much of New York, thank God.
Yes.
We disallowed it in Florida, and we disallowed it in Texas. Some other places as well. I do think there were shenanigans, and it can't possibly take that long to count the gubernatorial votes in Arizona. It's impossible.
I mean, we've put a man on the moon how many years ago now, and we can't get votes counted? Are you kidding me? What is this? This is crazy.
And they were trying to tell people that we were being unreasonable, expecting them to do so, when every other state in the union had done so.
Right, exactly. It's amazing. It's amazing to see. Before I let you go, I got to ask you, though, about your charity work, because I think this is something I don't even know if people know about you. You helped co-found the Children's Miracle Network with Marie Osmond. Yep. It started as a telethon. You've raised over $7 billion now. And obviously, people who are familiar know it helps with medical treatment for sick kids. I mean, I think you started in the early 80s. Did you ever envision how big it would become and this kind of impact you would have?
Well, you don't ever want to start a small movement, right? You don't want to start a small business. You want to start a big business. Problem is you have to start, right? And a lot of people don't get over that hurdle. So we started in 1982. The first telethon was 1983. And the intention was to raise money for children's hospitals all throughout the United States and Canada. So we did that. And a couple of the founding principles were that all of the money that was raised stayed right there where it was raised. So that the goal was to eliminate people saying, well, that's a great cause, but I already gave to United Way, or I gave to March. I already gave. And you don't, those are wonderful organizations, but they have a board somewhere that decides where the money goes.
Right.
Raise money in New York, it goes right to the kids in New York. When you raise money in Westchester, so it is a national, binational, local charity. Mm-hmm. And we just had a meeting. We are going to, this year, we will actually push over the $8 billion mark.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been remarkable. It also raises money because children's hospitals treat children regardless of what they have. Mm-hmm. Wonderful as March of Dimes is, that deals with spina bifida or muscular dystrophy, deals with muscular dystrophy. As wonderful as those organizations are, if your child or your niece or nephew or grandchild doesn't have that, if you weren't affected by that specific disease somehow, you're not as likely to want to give.
Right.
So we raise money for the whole child. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time, and I'm very proud of it. We'll be 4 years old here, and we will top our $8 billion mark. Our real goal, however, is to raise $1 billion a year. Right now we're around 450, 475 million. So we want to raise $1 billion a year. And when, by the way, when that money is given to the Children's Hospital, it's totally non-discretionary. They do with it whatever they want. Mm-hmm. There are no strings attached. There is no red tape. There is no BS that's attached with that, because we know how to raise money. They know how to help children. So it's a perfect wedding, perfect match.
Fantastic. My husband and I have done a lot with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
St. Jude, wonderful.
St. Jude's they do an incredible job, and so I appreciate anything that goes to help kids, sick kids, kids dying of unheard of diseases. It's amazing. What a great cause, and God forbid you're ever a parent who finds yourself in that position, to know that there are people out there, John, like you, who are really doing everything you can to help them. I'm sure in a moment where their whole life kind of flashes before their eyes, they know help is on the way for their child. Nothing can make them, feel better. It's a wonderful thing.
Air Lifeline, he helped fly people around, kids around.
Oh, wow.
Did help, and I believe that we can't help when we die. We can't help but to leave a mark of some kind. It's up to us while we're still breathing to make sure that mark is not a stain.
Right.
So, and by the way, I think Marlo Thomas is from Westchester. I know that in That Girl, she was from Brewster.
Oh, is that right? There's so many connections. This is amazing.
Sadly, AOC is from York Heights.
Yeah.
And she's who is the most irresponsible human being on the planet, is from Bedford Village.
There we go. Well,
and I'm Mount Kisco. So.
There are a lot of connections, some better and some not so great. Some we like to forget.
Clown between two thorns.
There you go. All right, final question, John. Yeah. Would you ever run, speaking of, for political office? Why or why not?
If you'd asked me that a month ago, I'd have said under no circumstances. But last week, yes. Because like my brother, can't allow the inmates to run the asylum any longer.
That's right.
Just can't do it. Cannot continue to have policy that is the enemy of free people. We can't have any policy that does anything but create opportunity for those who want to seize it with both hands so that they and their loved ones can thrive. Okay?
So true.
If I ran for anything, it would be on the no free lunch platform. And those who want a free lunch, I would be very unpopular. It's like this movie. The people who love it to death. The people who hate it with a vengeance. And they're the ones who need to see it more.
That's so true. Gosh. Yep. All right. So we're marking you in the probably maybe category for a possible run for something. We'll check back in with you.
Okay. Yeah. If this deeper, if it gets any, of course, people have got to do something.
That's right. That's right. It starts today. We can't wait until we're a month out from the next one. We need to start working on it right now. And
right now. We're going to make a couple of movies to underscore that.
Oh, by the way,
check out our song. Keith Burns and I did a song and a video called Trump Card.
Oh, I got to see this now.
Drinking wine out of a carafe that's bigger than her head. We've got her tearing speech. It's wonderful. Trump Card. John Snyder, Trump Card. It's a lot of fun because, you have to have a sense of humor. Quickly, I know we have to go, but somebody asked me in this movie about the vaccination. They say, "Did you get the jab?" And I say, "Hell, I wouldn't get that shot with Baldwin's arm."
Well, there we go. And I hear you. And a lot of people do too.
Say hello to Eric.
That's so funny. Well, John Schneider, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us on the review. Everybody go out and check out To Die For. Love that you're making movies like this. Please keep it up. And we'll check back on your budding political career the next time we talk to you. All right, John. Thank you so much. And to everybody at home, as always, thanks for joining us right here on The Right View. We'll see you back here next time for more.